I'd like to apologise to all of you that for some reason, all episodes this week, my microphone doesn't seem to have been connected properly, so I've got that slightly tinny webcam type of noise coming out of my microphone whenever I speak. You can hear enough of what I say, but it's just not particularly great, so I apologise for that. I hope it'll all be back to normal and it'll never happen again. No idea. I've done this a couple of times with an episode of Please Be Seated, another podcast I've guest on, so no idea really whether this is the last time I'm going to forget to connect my microphone up, but just thought this warning's probably better than me going back and re-recording every single thing I said, so apologies for that. Please tune in and continue to listen, and regular programming will appear next week. Alright, enjoy the episode. Welcome to 2 Minutes About Time, the podcast that takes a look at the Richard Curtis film About Time, 2 minutes at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Luke Allen, and with me, as always, is Robert E.G. Black.
Hello, hello.
And our special guest for this week, Alice Lauren.
Hello.
So, Alice, would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yeah, so I am also a podcaster, and I've been guesting on a ton of podcasts, but also I'm a panelist on the Now You've Seen It movie podcast, called Now You've Seen It, and we just talk about all the quintessential, fun, cool movies that go around, and talk to guests who've never seen the movie before, and it's a fun time.
So I can't remember your response to when I asked you, have you seen this film before?
I have, yeah, once before.
Do you remember much of your opinions or experience first time seeing it, or just a casual viewing?
Yeah. You know, I knew I had seen it once before, and I couldn't really remember it very much. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, this is the Rachel McAdams time travel movie, which is like 4 movies. Yeah. But no, I mean, I knew it was a sweet movie. I feel like for some reason, I remember a few years ago when I saw this not really liking it in a way, and I could not remember why. I think I remembered maybe that there was something sad about it. For some reason, I thought that the mom had died, and I feel like I remember maybe crying about that at the time, so I was kind of shocked watching again for this. So it's interesting.
No spoilers, Luke. Not till Friday.
I was going to say.
They won't ruin it for you.
Yeah, so I assume you've just rewatched these minutes then. Do you remember, so you don't know the rest of the film, or?
Oh no,
you've seen it?
I watched the whole movie again. Okay. But I just was kind of like, for some reason I thought it was the mom that had died that had like basically broke me, but it was not that. But it's so interesting because as I was watching it, I was watching it yesterday again, and I was like, I couldn't remember how funny the writing was. I mean, the writing's funny, love the movie, very sweet, very heartfelt, all these great things, but also kind of weirdly, like, instantly forgettable in a weird way, and I don't know why, because it's really good. Yeah.
Because it's life.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you remember everything funny that everyone around you says?
Well,
you
exactly.
Just remember that those people are funny.
Well, but I didn't remember it as like a quirky, funny kind of movie, but then you kind of get back into it. So I feel like the only sort of scenes that I was remembering from, when I watched years ago were like something like at the beach. It's probably, a picturesque kind of thing, but it was like not even like what was going on in this, but it was like, oh yes, I'm sure there was some sort of a beach scene. I remembered them coming to the door of their family home, of Tim's family home. Like, that was like the only thing I could picture in my mind.
Okay, so this will definitely be an interesting discussion. Like I say, I can't
I guess first time round it must be forgettable, because I didn't remember much of it when I first saw it.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I watched it like the second or third time that suddenly I was like, this is really good, and then next thing I know, it's like my favourite film, and I'm obsessed with it at this point.
Look, there's a beautiful beach house, and there's a beach, and there's a family, and that's, you remember the bare bones.
I say now I know it pretty much off by heart, but I've seen it too many times now. And I think, actually I haven't discussed this, I wonder if there's a weird sentimentality to it, because I specifically remember watching this on the day a couple of years ago that my dog died. Like, I was watching this.
Oh, that would do it. Yeah.
I was watching it just as my parents came in and said that he didn't make it, and I think I can't remember where I was up to or anything like that, but it's strong enough in my head that this has got that sentimental purpose as well. Yeah, and weirdly, I think that viewing was the first time that I kind of realised this film is really good. I think that was the time where I teared up at the wedding and all the other bits, and
the different like implications where I mean, because it's so both witty and yet heartfelt, you go from the snappy dialogue, and then you have this well, if we have a third child, you'll never see your father again. I mean, it's just this incredible idea.
It's literally kill your father to have a child, basically.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, so to go into minute 11, we open with Tim continuing his line from the previous minute, and he says, it'd just be great if it could help me get a girlfriend, which the dad responds to with, wow, massive. Yeah, the mothership. And then Tim narrates, whilst I know the name of the piece of music, and I forgot the name of the piece of music. It's playing. Where's my phone? I was literally listening to it the other day.
I was gonna say, while you're looking, I love their relationship. That is the coolest father-son relationship. I don't know if there was trying to think of a more interesting, one in similar movies, or not similar movies for that matter.
Yeah, right. So the piece of music is called At the River, and it's by Groove Armada, that's playing at this point. And it starts as background music, and then it becomes later on what's playing on Charlotte's radio, which I think is great.
Yeah.
But that I possibly only know that because of the number of times I listened to the soundtrack, which is Richard Curtis seems to always be great with music. I think all of his films just have incredible use of music, and he's always very specific about his music library. And this film especially, part of the writing was written around featuring certain songs that he liked, and even to the point where he'd have some of the piece of music in his headphones while they were filming, in order to check that it fits along with the tracks that he wanted. So yeah, that's a big interesting for me. So then Tim moves on to narrate, unless there's I need to look at the visuals. Is there anything interesting at this point? It's just him walking, isn't it, at this point?
Nah, we're just backing out of the same hallway.
Yeah, no, I was intrigued what you said about the music, because I didn't necessarily notice the score, but some of the songs being used. I mean, there were obviously some that I absolutely love. How Long Will I Love You, and I forgot what was the New Year's song from earlier, but I guess we'll probably hear it again coming up. But I know my friend that I was watching it with was saying oh, could they not get the rights to play the real New Year's song? Could they not find the rights to play the real wedding procession song? So that was a weird take, but I think it was kind of a quirky, whimsical use of music as well.
Well, at least with Il Mondo at the wedding, that was definitely a very big thing for Richard Curtis. He's even talked about the fact that he once wrote a sitcom just so he could use that piece of music as the theme tune. It was called Yes Minestrone.
Oh wow.
And
that sounds fake, but okay.
Yeah. No, originally I thought it was, but then the number of times I've heard him say that in interviews, it's oh, I'm pretty sure it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just the general shot, reverse shot, really, on Tim and his dad at first, and then him walking down, walking down that famous corridor, and then we have Kit Kat and Charlotte turn up in that vehicle, and this has been described as the most dangerous scene in the film, as the actress who played Kit Kat could not drive.
Oh.
And a lot of things were like messing up at this point, apparently.
Oh
no. And this is about the point that one of the deleted scenes would have taken place.
It's coming.
I'm trying to check. I've got your version of the transcript now, so that's...
Well, I was gonna say, is that where that went? Because it felt like it was...
No,
like,
I would put it tomorrow on the next episode, actually.
Yeah.
Because I think it should go after the sundown lotion stuff.
Yeah, I just mean the other one with Charlotte when she's first coming in.
Oh, I might not have seen that one.
Really? Okay.
I just watched the pajama one in the hallway, and then him in his bedroom with pajamas again.
Okay. Then you haven't seen this other deleted scene. Never mind. I'll see if I can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on. Because it's quite short, so I could probably just play it in a second. Because it's one with when Charlotte first turns up and he's like trying to make a good impression, and he keeps like going back and changing his outfit and stuff. Like that's one which I can.
Not the pajama one.
No, it's not the pajama one. The pajama one I really like. Oh. This one felt a bit. I could see why it was cut. Like it was
like, hello, this is Tim, and he just has different like outfits.
Oh, it is on the video I have. It just for some reason it's at the end of it.
Yeah, the order of deleted scenes on that is weird, and some of them are trimmed down a little bit as well, which is odd because when I was watching them on the Blu-ray, like things are different. So I assume, Alice, you haven't seen this deleted scene either.
No, I only sent her... Well, it's in the video I sent her, but I don't know if she watched the whole thing.
I watched... I think everyone... Because you both sent me different stuff, but it was basically the same stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know how much Robert sent, and then I was like, oh, I better send off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... It's...
Yeah, I think the one you sent me, Luke, I was kind of like, wait, what do you mean this is the same stuff that he sent? So I kind of was like, well, I just kind of get it back in my head, but yeah.
That works. I hadn't even realised the deleted scenes until recently, so I didn't know whether Robert had sent them. So, yeah, I mean, it's just... It's an odd deleted scene. There's not really too much to say about it, really.
Yeah.
Because we don't really need to discuss the deleted scenes in as much detail as the scenes from the film itself. But...
Do you think that they were needed, though? Do you think that we needed more of her Charlotte character?
I mean, not this one with the car. I really, really like the pajama bit. Like, that had me in stitches. I think it's slightly overdone in the scene in the car. Like, I get why they did it, and I probably wouldn't have had an issue for it in the film.
I think they definitely couldn't have included both, because it would have been a little too much.
Yeah.
Of him, like, going back in time just to change his outfit is a little much.
Yeah. Well, because we kind of already had that already, though, like, alright, bad impression, alright, better impression, no, alright, best, like, we already kind of have that already, and you already see that kind of
we get it with the lotion.
Between having to change for her possibly, but not as much for his wife. That's a whole other thing. But kind of redo your impressions.
That's a really good point.
Well,
actually,
he's younger here, so
and I'm sure there'll be a heck of a lot more that we'll discuss, Robert, when we get to him with Mary and whether it's morally correct for him to use her own words to draw her in. Like, I remember that was discussed majorly on the commentary, and they were like, oh, it's fine because he loves her, and then like Donald Gleason says something like, well, that's the excuse that stalkers would use as well. It's just
yeah.
So to go back to the actual minute, we have Tim's narration. For me, it was always going to be about love, and that was the summer I walked into the eye of the storm. Her name was Charlotte, cousin of Kit Kat's handsome but nasty boyfriend Jimmy, and she was staying for 2 whole months.
So how close was Charlotte, I guess, to Kit Kat in a way? Because I think, like, rewatching these minutes and kind of realizing, she's not just like family friend, like she's, sort of a friend of Kit Kat's, but more of like cousin of her boyfriend. So it was just a really weird, like, I don't know. It was interesting, kind of looking at it through that lens versus like a family friend you grew up with your whole life, sort of thing. Just the way they were embracing her, like on her last night at dinner.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
It is kind of weird because I was sort of wondering that as to why
how does she know her boyfriend's cousin?
Yeah, and why she's staying with Kit Kat rather than with Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing actually in the deleted scene is suggested that, like, Tim doesn't know that Kit Kat's with Jimmy at this point. Which is even weirder. Like, how could they be so close for Tim to not know that they're together? And one thing actually which we don't get in this bit, because I didn't even realise until the deleted scene that it was Kit Kat who was driving the car. Like, it didn't even sort of twig to me, because you don't see her at this point. But I'm noticing more and more Kit Kat and purple. Like, in the deleted scene she's wearing purple, the car's purple. I'm pretty sure, her bikini later on is, like, bluish and purple, and I'm wondering whether that's...
In his original description of her, he had purple shirts.
So,
yeah, purple's her thing.
That makes sense. And actually, although completely out of order, once again, because I forgot to mention earlier, when we have that shot of Tim going down the hallway, once again he matches the colours. Somehow, it's weird because every outfit he wears is different colours, but still matches the hallway, so it must, as you said, be something to do with like, the lighting and stuff. Because, like, his boxers and shirt match the colours of, like, the walls and stuff. I'll be interested to follow Tim's outfit, like, throughout, and see how many other things he matches and over this. So then, at the transcript, just one, not both of them, is the next line. I'm trying to remember what the context of that was.
Yeah.
That's just background dialogue. It's Charlotte saying it about the magazine she's reading.
That makes sense. It's one of the only lines that on your transcript wasn't put to anyone, so I was just confused for a moment. Right. Yeah, and then she asks Tim whether he'll do her back, and he's absolutely, and she jokes about how keen he is. And I mean, this scene is a really good scene. I mean, the one thing about how condensed Margot Robbie's time is without the deleted scenes is that it is just sort of a funny and enjoyable part of the film, just as like one segment really. Like, she's only in it for about 5-10 minutes, but like it's sort of an enjoyable part of his life really. And it's kind of like the fact that, I don't know how to describe this, the fact that it's in like such a sort of condensed segment of the film is almost like, because we are like Tim at this point, it's like just a memory which has been condensed almost. So when he goes back, we feel like we did spend that summer with Charlotte, when he sees her later on. I don't know whether the way I'm phrasing this makes any sense at all, but
I don't know.
He remembers it in pieces.
Condensed,
and just the pieces that we see it in, it's just, And then we get Tim's actual mishap with the sun cream.
Yeah, I feel like we don't see her enough. Like, I understand what you're saying, but I feel like, to me, the way that it's condensed makes it feel like she was only there for a few days, even though it's the summer. It's very, very quickly, too. And then the last night of, before she left,
So, I have a thing. You were talking earlier about how the movie, some of the specifics are sort of forgettable after you watch it. For me, it was actually slightly different in that I remembered her having a bigger part.
Oh.
And I even thought, I mean, spoilers for later, I even thought he did go with her one of the times he meets her later at the theater. And, like, he did go into her apartment, and he doesn't. And when that happened, when I watched the movie again last week, I was like, wait, I remembered something happening that didn't happen in the film. And thought Charlotte was a bigger part. And I'm like, that's weird, because, as you're saying, it fits that this plays like a memory. It's condensed, because what does he remember? Her arriving and him, like, falling for her. Him making a fool of himself and then fixing it. Her playing tennis and then her leaving. And it's like, that's it, because all the days would be the same, and it's just a summer a long time ago.
I mean, I wonder whether we also sort of see the evolution of Tim as well. Like, his first love interest we see, her personality trait is she's attractive and she's the one he likes. And then, like, when he gets to Mary, like, we see her through Tim's eyes as, like, a proper three-dimensional person. You know, and I wonder whether that's...
Oh, and he meet her in the dark, so it's a different introduction.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and that's something to say later on, actually, is that Donald Gleason had Rachel McAdams, like, record audio of her singing a song and her reading a poem before they filmed, and he'd listen to it every day so he'd fall in love with her voice in order to do those scenes, which I think is just incredible. And yeah, I mean, I guess another thing is Margot Robbie's accent is really good.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first thing I knowingly saw Margot Robbie in, and I would have had no idea she was Australian. Yeah, I mean, I just think, the accents are they are very well done, and, I mean, part of me wonders, like, Margot Robbie didn't really have to be British in this. Like, I mean, I assume she had a dialect coach, so I guess her character didn't really have to be British.
Right, she's a cousin. She could be from Australia.
She's really, I mean, from your American side of things, like, is her American accent good in, like, Wolf of Wall Street and Suicide Squad and things like that? Like,
I don't remember what she sounded like in Wolf of Wall Street. I only saw that once. But Suicide Squad, she's got a very specific sort of American accent that, it comes across that. I think a better one would be her in Bombshell. She's got a very specific American accent, like good blonde, middle America kind of girl. But she does well.
So I guess we just go straight on to the next minute. Do we have any other...
No! I've got visuals.
Oh, of course. Visuals. was that your attempt at a British accent, then?
How dare you call it an attempt? It was accidental, actually.
It was better than... It's better than a lot of other British accents I've heard.
There's certain words that I can say them, and like that one, I was just the way I said no. It just came out that way because it's a good no. I just had a couple of comments on visuals because we already mentioned the purple car. That was one I had, but the deliberate introduction of Charlotte does make her a physical object because the camera starts on her legs and moves up, and so it's definitely like turning her, objectifying her. But a couple of things I love. Dad is reading another book when he's sitting outside. So I think that's the fourth one we've seen him with in only 11 minutes.
I say, are we going to keep book count throughout the...
I could try. Unfortunately, you can almost never tell what book it is. The first one we could, and then otherwise it's like books without their cover, like their jackets on. So
I guess it's cheaper for production as well to not have to show the front cover.
Yeah. You just grab whatever cheap book you got and use it.
I guess they would have had to have got licensing clearance for him to have the Amelie poster and stuff.
Possibly. You don't have to, but you get it if you don't want any problems later. Because if the people who made Amelie don't like the movie, they can complain and that would be a problem.
Yeah, that's sort of stuff I was thinking. Because at the moment I'm working on a documentary about people. Basically, all of my friends who are also in the same position as me and now left school unexpectedly and trying to find stuff to do. I'm basically making a documentary about trying to find stuff to do. And they keep mentioning, like, brand names and stuff, and I'm like, can I keep that in? Yeah. Can I not? Probably for documentary's sake, it's probably fine to keep brand names.
Yeah, for a documentary, you sort of could.
And it's not going to be major enough for anyone to kick up a fuss.
And I also just wanted to comment on Kit Kat as a visual, because, like, we see the father's reaction to Tim really obvious. Like, he puts his hand to his head, and he's, like, kind of disappointed. Kit Kat finds all of this hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, even the fact that Charlotte asked him to come over there, she laughs. And she laughs when he, like, runs over there like a dork, and she laughs when he makes a mistake. She's great in this minute.
I'm wondering, like, why she even really asked, I guess? Like, is she teasing him? Is it the sisters?
I think it's a complete tease. I think she knows 100%.
Big brother, little brother? Yeah.
Because, I mean, we see later on, we get the whole line about, oh, you're not going to ask me about love, are you? Like, I think that there's been conversation between Charlotte and Kit Kat, wherein, you know, they're having a laugh about it all, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, imagine that for 2 months. I feel that would be both an amazing and really awkward 2 months of your life to have this person who is, at this point, like, utterly in love with, basically winding him up about it for the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
how many times did she ask him to do this, you know? How many days did they lay out there in bikinis?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish we could have seen more of that build up with the pajamas and all the.
Yeah, we'll get onto the pajamas next minute, and that is possibly, like, I am so annoyed that is cut, because I think it's hilarious.
Because I was gonna say, by the time that they were, you know, later on in the film at the theater, and he's like, oh, it's my first love, and I was like, first love? I mean, I know people, you know, he wasn't that young. I mean, he was at least 21, but, like, you know, he could be, you know, misguided, and, oh, okay, was that really your first love? But I was like, what do you mean, love? Like, I didn't see enough of that. I just saw, like, oh, here's a hot girl, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think he's a sort of naive romantic who sort of mistakes a crush for love.
Well, I wonder if it's also a British thing, because he's specifically 21, but I think the way the beginning of the movie plays, he feels more like we would play, like, a teenager. Yeah. Like, mid-teens, where this is literally the first time he's ever really fallen for a girl, and, like, the first time it ever came up. He just went through puberty and everything, but then he's 21 because they want to set up that he is an adult, you know, but otherwise some of this could be awkward.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is sort of post-teen, but 21 is an odd age for that stuff, because 21 in the UK, like, he could be nearly finished with a college degree, or, like, a good way into, not college degree, it's a university degree, or, like, you know, be a good way into a job by this point. Like, it's still it's a very adult age. I mean, traditionally,
I assume the way the movie plays it, that he hasn't gone to university yet. That's why we jump forward and he has a degree, you know. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even the entire law thing, like, there is no setup for that before, suddenly he's a lawyer.
No.
Yeah, and I feel like even, like, I mean, I know the whole movie spans a few years, but I just feel like it's like, and then the next year he met Mary or something like that, like.
But maybe in the same light, we're experiencing it as if we know Tim and he's telling us the story. Like, he won't tell us every detail of the story.
No, because for him it's all about love, so that's the story he's telling.
It's not, like, I mean, to look at a different thing, I guess, take the show How I Met Your Mother, and how that show does go into every single detail. Obviously, that's the joke with the show. But then Tim's telling this story to us, the audience, who you could assume is like a friend of Tim's almost. And he's telling us it, but only the stuff that is relevant to lead on to, you know, from point A to point B, with the occasional odd, funny anecdote as he goes along, almost like tangents mid-conversation. Like, it feels hence I don't mind all this sort of rushed stuff with Margot Robbie, because I feel like that's the way it would work. But yeah, to move sort of straight on to the next minute, when he just sort of goes back in time to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Does the dad know?
Yes.
That's what I wanted to know. It was such
I would say absolutely. He does something stupid and then runs inside. The dad is like, yeah, okay, I know it's about to happen.
No, but I mean, like, afterwards, like, when he's perfecting it, does...
Yeah.
Like, because he gives a look, but apparently, like, even Richard Curtis, according to the commentary, didn't really know. Apparently everyone on the crew was asking him, does the dad know? And he was like, I don't know.
I don't think the dad would know every time he does something, but I think he knows Tim as an awkward little...
Yeah, so when he does something so well...
I almost called him a ginger. Sorry, Luke. But his dad knows he's awkward, so anytime he does something that's, like, cool and in the moment, he probably assumes something happened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Or how much has the dad helped this along if he was like, I like her for, whatever it is, like, or I don't like her for that matter. He could change things too.
I do love this whole bit where Tim then goes to do it back properly, and he's reading the book, and it's just give us a sec. It's just,
yeah.
I think it's such a great and quick jump. And part of me wonders whether that is only the second time he's done this, or whether he has repeated it a load of times as well. Mm-hmm. Because for him to go from a complete mess to having perfected it is just...
Well, it's sunblock. It's not hard to perfect. But... The hesitation with the book, though, does seem like something it took him a few times to get just right, because... He needs to make Charlotte wait. And it looks like she never has had to, because she does, like, she's like, okay, and Kit Kat even reacts to that, like, that's weird.
And when he actually, like, this is another thing of what we're saying about, like, her sort of teasing him. When he does it and she does say the whole, oh, nice, like, I think that is semi-flirtatious even there.
Yeah.
She knows that she's sort of leading him on at this point. And then I think it's awkward Tim once again when he says it's my area. Like, it's not the right thing to say.
Well, yeah. I don't think he's done this a lot of times. There's one when he gets the sunblock on his hands, like he rubs them together, he blows on it, like, he's practiced this. But then he's really awkward when he reaches out to actually touch her.
Yeah.
Like, this is still the first time he's gotten that far.
And I think...
And so maybe he's only done it like 2-3 times.
And I think it feels so natural that he is sort of uncomfortable about touching her. I think it's such a tiny thing, which I think Richard Curtis has written and directed really well. As we've said before, mostly through Bill Nighy, but Richard Curtis is very good at awkwardness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, when we said before about, like, music, I'm probably going to keep talking about The Girl in the Cafe, but The Girl in the Cafe as a film, like... Whereas Richard Curtis films are normally full of music, there is so much of a lack of music in so many scenes in that it's just awkward pauses and, like, silence, and it just feels so real. I don't know where you can watch The Girl in the Cafe in the States, but if it's on anything, then it's definitely worth taking another look at, because it's just a good film. So then Tim narrates... It was a summer of suntan and torture. Would you say... So we've got this whole bit about inviting Jay. Do we think pyjamas is probably a good point to talk about the pyjama scene before tennis?
I had tennis
first. Okay.
Because we're outside.
So he says, I invited my foolish friend Jay around for tennis because I thought he'd make me look good. And that gives us the end of this minute, really, other than Jay saying beauty, and we get a bit of their game.
I'm sure Jay gets hit by a ball in the minute.
Incidentally, Margot Robbie cannot play tennis. She is apparently every shot she had hit the net.
Did they say anything about her having a double for the tennis even?
I don't know. Did we see her with a double? Because get that double in.
No, I mean someone
double.
taking her place.
I don't think so.
There were a couple shots where I'm like, is that Margot Robbie? Because the face seems slightly wrong, and I'm like, maybe it's just because it's years ago and she just looks a little different how I'm used to her.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I need to get to the... Well, we can discuss it more next minute, so you only get a second of it here. But, yeah, it's odd. And apparently Margot Robbie said that she was, like, a pro and she was really good at tennis, and then she failed the whole thing. And we'll find out later on, and when we discuss how bad Bill Nighy is at ping pong. Or, in fact, yeah, did we call it ping pong or table tennis? It's the same thing, but it's just what's the... Are they both? Yeah.
I think in the movie they call it table tennis.
I don't know which... Like, I assume probably one of them's British and one of them's American. I don't know which one's which. There might not be, but it feels like... Feels like one would be an Americanism. Who knows? But anyway, basically, Bill Nighy had to have several lessons in table tennis in order to be able to even do the small games that he had in the film. But that's not relevant to this minute. So, is there anything worthwhile on visuals for this minute, Robert?
Well, I already said the thing about Kit Kat reacting when he makes Charlotte wait. She's amused. Otherwise, no, it's all pretty simple.
So, Alice, do you have any sort of final thoughts on these 2 minutes, I guess?
Basically what I've said before. I sort of wish there was more Margot Robbie, but I'm kind of questioning her character in a sense. I mean, I get it, you know, she was being kind of flirtatious, kind of, you know, teasing her friend's brother, but I don't know, I think even kind of seeing the way she is years later with him, it kind of comes off as almost like a villainous character in a sense. Like she didn't have much of a growth, I guess. I know it was interesting. Robert said that he wasn't like a very three-dimensional character. It was like, oh yeah, hot girl, not much more to her, complete jerk, and then never changes.
I think when she comes back, she's gone through something, and like Tim's basically her rebound. Like, at least that's how it feels to me. It's like she had no interest in him at all, but she knows that she can rely on him to make her feel good.
Yeah, she's bored, yeah.
And this is, of course, the first of 4 collaborations between Domhnall Gleeson and Margot Robbie. Because this was followed with Goodbye Christopher Robin in 2017, and then Peter Rabbit in 2018, and then Peter Rabbit 2 this year. Have you guys seen Goodbye Christopher Robin? Like, that's such a good film.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it was good.
Sounds interesting.
Well, yeah, it's just the whole story of Winnie the Pooh, and Domhnall Gleeson and Margot Robbie play A.A. Milne and his wife, and it's such...
Is it Margot Robbie or is it Rachel McAdams? I wasn't sure.
It's Margot Robbie.
I thought it was... Is it? Oh, interesting. Wasn't he and Rachel McAdams were in some other movies?
I'll research that now. I hadn't even checked. As I said, I hardly know anything with Rachel McAdams in it, so I've literally today gathered together the 3 Rachel McAdams films that I found in the house, and I'm planning on watching them at some point this week.
As soon as I first saw her on screen, I was like, oh, it's Regina George.
Yeah, weirdly, I saw Mean Girls after About Time, and like I didn't even twig that it was her at first. Like,
interesting.
I think it was literally just her being blonde and a very different character. It wasn't until I think maybe the second time I watched Mean Girls, and I was like, and I was just acknowledging the credits, and I was like, it's Rachel McAdams. So yeah, I mean, I still haven't seen The Notebook, so that'll be tomorrow. I planned to watch it today, and then I don't remember what I did, actually. Oh, yeah, I watched Fisher King.
You watched The Fisher King?
Yeah, looking forward to talking about that at some point.
my movies were that was my shows.
Right, so Alice, where can our listeners find you on social media?
Yeah, so on social media you can find me on Facebook, Alice Lauren, and then my Twitter is at Alimezh, ALIMEZH, and I have a TikTok now. It's Podcast Socialite, which is what I've decided to crown myself.
The first TikTok credit on this show. There we go.
That's right.
So, Robert, once again, where can the listeners find you?
Social media, Robert E.G. Black, and my website for links to all my podcasts are on lemmingdrops.com. Speaking of The Fisher King, by the way, probably by the time this episode goes up, you can hear me and Luke talking about The Fisher King and About Time over on one of my podcasts, Cock and Bull.
I hope it's an interesting one.
It will be.
And the listeners can find me on Twitter at llama_bottle0. They can find me on Instagram at thegingerluke. All my podcasts, short films, radio interviews, all of that are all available at lukeallen.co.uk. And this podcast can be found on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at 2mins About Time. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you listen again on Wednesday. Goodbye. Cheerio.
Cheers.
The 2 Minutes About Time theme is performed by Ethan O'Mahony and is a cover of the About Time theme originally composed by Nick Laird-Close. 2 Minutes About Time is a production of Lemming Drop Studios in association with Bottle O Productions.